And when it comes to crypto, I think the last several years have made it clear that we're talking about genuine, ground-up innovation, one that's already improving the well-being of tens of millions of our fellow citizens. I believe it's 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and I believe that's going to be 100 million before too long.
Bitcoin! Bitcoin! Yeah.
First asset class that we would like to address is real estate. There's a lot of you have been around Doha in the past 2 days. There's a lot of real estate oversupply in the market, but it also solves a significant problem where there's not enough access into this asset class. If you look at a lot of the towers in West Bay or in Lusail or in any other area in Qatar, a lot of the towers are owned by one or two or maximum three landlords. And these are significant ticket sizes. You're talking about a minimum of $500 million upwards. So tokenizing a tower or two, I think, would do great good for the economy and a lot more access and liquidity to the real estate market.
Home ownership used to be a natural next step for people in their late 20s and early 30s. But as they stand on the sidelines, a new kind of investor is stepping in, but not the one you might think. Bot's fund specializes in renting out single-family homes, a trend that's been on the rise because buying the house you live in has become increasingly difficult. About 2/3 of Americans own their own homes, up from the early 1990s, but well below the peak of over 69% just before the Great Financial Crisis.
In an environment today where the affordability index is constrained, you have interest rates that are high, you have economic uncertainty, you have the average American can't afford housing at these levels in today's environment.
When there is a market imbalance, as there was in 2009, investors typically step in to address it. Back then, it was the big institutions like Blackstone.
You would expect capital to flow into these markets, but if the cost is prohibitive, nobody's going to expose capital to higher than normal costs. And so I think right now everyone is waiting to see what happens.
Nancy Wallace is a professor at the Berkeley Haas School of Business and chairs the real estate group there.
You have to remember the origins of the single-family rental by large corporation or large fund purchases. Those were heavily subsidized by Fannie and Freddie mortgages that went to help these corporations buy the homes. So they actually financed that. That was a one-time thing. It was very helpful for their initial growth. And then it was taking advantage of the outmigration from the coastal states, especially during COVID, into these markets that were heavily single-family for-rent markets, especially in Georgia, Atlanta, Charlotte, Tampa, Florida. But right now, unless things change in terms of tariffs and the cost of construction, I wouldn't expect to see huge growth in single-family for rent by very large players.
In Senator Neal's constituency of North Las Vegas, that number is even higher.
They're 27% of the Vegas market. It's significant and it's grown. They are now purchasing entire streets. They're building entire neighborhoods for rent. And so this is going on in Henderson. This is going on in North Las Vegas. It's across the valley. And I think it's significant because it's not creating home ownership. It's creating renters, which is different.
Senator Neal introduced legislation to cap the number of homes owned by investors at 100, but the measure recently failed.
Literally, when I left session, it was the national story where a corporate investor purchased 115 homes in one day. And this was a question that came up to me during the session. As families or as individuals, we're also trying to expand our own wealth, right? So 15 or 20 houses to me is still a mom and pop, right? There's still a smaller investor that is saying, you know what, I'm trying to expand my own generational wealth, but it's not to the greatest extent of 100 homes. And there was a conversation around, are you trying to lock me out of my own ability to operate as a small capitalist? And I had to say, no, But there's a fine line in gaining wealth and greed.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And I want to thank those who've already sent out shout-outs to my baby boy. And also those who've already hit that Cash App. Keep it ringing. Now, we know Bitcoin is a narrative to get us moved over to this fourth industrial revolution. And we have the President of the United States leading the way. And part of the fourth industrial revolution is you own nothing, but you will be happy. And real estate is a big way that people gain wealth. And with housing, you can have the same home, no improvements, go from $20,000 or less all the way up to $1 million. Yes, you heard that correct. This depends on where you live at. And why is that? So the banks could keep printing money. Now they're about to take that illusion away. And we're also seeing private equity and a few big banks buying up all the real estate, now becoming the landlords because we're going to be moving to tokenization. And the people, because they're going to be out of work, are going to be getting that free money, and they'll be paying the same private equity firms, the same big banks, the rent money. Remember, guys, they cause a problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. We're seeing housing prices get squeezed up to squeeze the next generation out of home ownership, but then also, once they finish squeezing up, they're going to pull the rug, take away the illusion, and we're going to see housing prices drop 30, 40, 50%, depend on where you're living at. And we saw Bush Jr. try to attack Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And now Trump is back at it, and he's going to get away with it. Because this generation has no clue. And this time when we have the housing crisis, because of all these layoffs, there's not going to be any security blanket. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And it definitely should be against the law for these private equity firms and these banks to buy single-family homes. But you guys know I've been over it several times. And then, guys, tomorrow we get another movie. We have Zelensky in the building with Trump. And remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. Remember, Zelensky is an actor, and then also Trump is an actor. You got two of the best actors in the game tomorrow. And you heard Pence talking about sanctions on Russia. Remember, guys, in 2014, Russia started to move away from the dependence on the United States economy. So like Trump stated, these sanctions don't bother them at all. And that's the main reason why the BRICS was formed. The fall of America to Babylon with that United States world reserve currency, and the rise of the BRICS nations led by China with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And all you have to do is look at the Belt and Road. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And remember, all these distractions are so therefore they can tokenize this whole economy, put it on blockchain, and so therefore the machines can run the economy without a human involved. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
2007, where we did have some mom and pops coming in, I think often to flip the homes rather than to hold them and rent them.
I think that's exactly what the difference is. Although there are house prices are definitely rising in California again, we're not seeing the flipper. At least we think we're not, but that is a hard phenomenon to measure. Fannie and Freddie, as you know, in 2023, changed their policies in terms of qualifying for investor loans and getting them and being eligible for Fannie and Freddie securitization. So the kind of pricing that you'd get from a Fannie and Freddie securitized loans. So now under their rules, basically the loan-to-value ratios are identical if you're an investor or you're buying it for ownership where you will live in the property.
As if the story of single-family home investment wasn't complicated enough, there's now a new potential threat on the horizon. Reports are that the Trump administration hopes to spin off government-sponsored enterprises Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which have been under government control since the great financial crisis.
So right now, if you buy a Fannie Mae mortgage-backed security or a Ginnie Mae mortgage-backed security, you are guaranteed against a default risk. Who provides that guarantee? The U.S. government right now through the conservatorship, the protections we have in place that Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie cannot fail. If we privatize Fannie and Freddie and make it semi-private, who is going to provide that guarantee? Where are we going to find sufficient capital? We're talking about markets that are $14 trillion large. Where are we going to find the private capital to support those markets, especially without very careful analysis? And that has not happened by the Federal Housing Finance Administration to try to figure out how we're going to do this. So I think anything that's poorly thought out, happens very rapidly, is a recipe for disaster on this very thorny problem that we have struggled with now for years and failed. And largely, I think the pressure on this is very active shareholders, especially Ackerman and Paulson, two very large shareholders of Fannie and Freddie paper, especially Fannie paper, that want to monetize this paper. And I think making a decision to benefit two large shareholders is ridiculous if it could bring down the U.S. mortgage market.
Blackstone was an early pioneer in the market for single-family rental homes.
Remember, after the crisis, they quickly became the largest owner of single-family homes in the country. They brought them all together. Then they created a company called Invitation Homes. They took it public, and then they got out of it.
They really had, I would say, the best period following the financial crisis because they were actually able to out there and sort of snatch up properties that had become distressed.
In 2021, Blackstone re-entered the single-family rental space with another major acquisition, Home Partners of America. Home Partners of America offered a lease-to-purchase program, which was criticized by some in the industry. In 2025, they shuttered that company.
Where we have lease-to-purchase agreements, we continue to honor those agreements. I think the challenge in the housing market today is that high borrowing costs make it more difficult for folks to convert a lease into being a homeowner.
Blackstone today is building its single-family portfolio with Tricon Residential. The company was acquired in 2024.
We purchased Tricon in a take-private transaction. It was publicly traded both in the U.S. and Canada and really had been undervalued in the public markets.
Today, Blackstone's single-family rental portfolio contains about 58,000 properties.
People who are rooting for Trump who think that Trump got played.
Well, look, I served alongside the president for 4 years. I know his style in dealing with these dictators. It's the velvet glove, but I think the hammer needs to come, and it needs to come immediately. I think the president, as he welcomes President Zelensky to the Oval Office tomorrow, but also making it clear to Putin that we are prepared to take actions that would literally break his economy, even while we redouble our commitment to the security of Ukraine.
Well, first of all, the Russians are already facing very severe consequences. There's not a single sanction that's been lifted. And not one. I mean, they're facing all the same sanctions that have been in place today. All the American support continues for Ukraine. But if tomorrow the war continues, life in America will not be fundamentally altered. So I think that what we have to understand is that this has been a priority for this president because he wants to promote peace. He wants to promote the end of a war. And I think we should be happy that we have a president that's trying to promote peace and bring a war to an end.
Russia is still unsuccessful in Donetsk region. Putin has been unable to take it for 12 years. And the constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land. Since the territorial issue is so important, it should be discussed only by the leaders of Ukraine and Russia at the trilateral Ukraine, United States, Russia. So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will happen, and if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team Save the Village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team Save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.